Welcome to Blind Shovel, an arts and music podcast. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with illustrator and designer Samuel Hayes. Enjoy. Yo.
Hey, what's up, Michael?
How you doing?
Good. How are
It's
you?
been a long time, huh?
Yeah, you said it.
So what's going on?
Oh, you know, nothing. What's up with you?
You somehow ended up in LA?
Yeah, weird, right?
No, not that weird.
Uh, well, yeah, I've been here for like almost a year, about.
Why'd you do that?
I don't know.
Oh, you got
My sister lives here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, for one thing. And Andrew lives here. I don't know. People live here. Actually, a lot of people live here.
A lot of people do live there. It's everyone in Oakland just went there basically.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a migration. But I had no real reason other than that, and wanting to just kind of get away from New York.
Yeah, where were you living again?
I was upstate in New Paltz, long time. Awful cold.
And what were you doing up there? I know you've been doing these embroidery things, but is that the main practice at the moment, art-wise?
Yeah, that's my job and my art at the moment. I do it for work as well. And
Really?
Oh yeah, sure.
So can you explain that? I'm still
I can
confused
explain
by like what has happened in the last 8 years or whatever.
I'm confused too. But yeah,
So it's still
at the moment,
okay. Yeah.
I work at this place called LUCCA MART. It's like it's like a brand, but they do service, like it's mostly screen printing and stuff, but I run their embroidery department. So that's like my full-time job. I do that all day, every day, mostly a lot of hats and sweatshirts and stuff. But they're pretty plugged in with like, the LA stuff. So they have all these clients, and I've been very busy working for them, just doing embroidery. And I do like some managing of their screen printing stuff too. But mostly all day I'm embroidering, like hardcore.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, you just started to teach yourself this way back when you were in Manhattan, right?
Yeah, that's how it started. But when I was living in New Paltz, also I was working for so that's sort of the trajectory. I was working at like the local neighborhood impression spot there in New Paltz, doing screen printing and embroidery, which is kind of funny. Like, so that's a small town, and it was like a very different clientele, and it's sort of different, like, in a business sense, like sort of a different place in the community, doing all the like local EMT and like police department, and all the school, like sports teams and stuff. So it was cool, sort of like low pressure, but it was cool sort of being involved in all this community stuff, like in like just meeting everyone, just like normal people who need embroidery, which it turns out a lot of people do need, or screen printing. Or we also did a few other impression type things, like a vinyl heat press. There's quite a bit. Direct to garment printing, you know about that?
Yeah. For some reason, I don't know, I'm opposed to it.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know
could see
why.
that. I could see you being opposed to that. I
Um,
like it, but it is
no, it's true. It has its utility, and there's like
yeah.
just like any other technology, you can explore it in a genuine fashion. But when it's used as like a supplement for actual screen printing or something that's
Yeah,
simple and
yeah,
can be
yeah.
screen, it just looks like it's horrible, you know?
It's true. It's
Um,
like a fast and easy like solution. But that being said, I think there's some cool stuff you can do with it if you just really got
sure,
wild with
sure.
it. But it
But
does,
I'm curious,
it
what
fades.
makes you so excellent? I don't know much about embroidery, but is it
Yeah.
fair to say that you're better than most people at it and that you're highly sought after because of your skill level with this type thing? Like, I think from the
Mhm.
outside people probably assume, oh, I just give someone a file and then they just put it in a program and it does it.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
can you
people,
explain that
yeah.
process a little bit?
I've, I kind of feel like people assume that about everything, like
True.
any process that requires some like high end tools, like it always just seems easy from the outside. But yeah, embroidery in particular is like, it's so fussy and tricky that yeah, there's so much that goes into it to between the being given some graphic and it being stitched into like a hat or whatever. It's wild. So yeah, I will say, when I was working in that shop in New Paltz, I wasn't especially, I didn't have any real special talents, but when I moved to LA, I actually like bought my own machine. I'm financing. It's a very expensive machine, but uh, through owning my own machine and trying to, run it as my business, I did get really good at it, mostly by being really bad at it and like just, it's one of those things. There's like a million little things that can go wrong. So
Yeah.
when you just are like on your own with this machine trying to figure it out and like master it, it's like you just fuck up in every possible way and you learn all the fixes. It's like any tool like this, I don't know. I did a lot of airbrushing and stuff and I sort of felt the same way about that. It's like there's like a barrier to entry. And that's kind of what makes you good at it, is when you like, there could be a problem an issue that would completely stop like someone who didn't know from continuing on whatever
Sure,
they're
sure.
working on. It's one of those things. And then if you've just dealt with it before, the fix. So through like 1,000 of those, I do think I've gotten pretty good at it. Sought after, I don't know about that, but I am trying to like kind of, so yeah, I'd say a lot of the, contract embroidery, where most of these places are shops that are trying to sort of get jobs in and out and, have as little friction as possible. There's a lot of stuff they won't do because it's a little too time
Exactly. Yeah.
intensive or takes too
Just like screen
much,
printing.
just like screen printing. Yeah. So I'm trying to fill this void where I'll do like some of that stuff and kind of work, with a client or whoever and do weird spots. So I've been doing a ton of crazy experiments with placement and, I'm just trying to fill that thing where it's like, I'll do the difficult tasks, or they might be a little more involved. A lot of them are just like, a lot of the stuff I've been doing just involves sort of ripping seams and like disassembling a piece of clothing and then
Yeah, no, I
embroidering it.
see it. I see it especially with these green bad boys. They
Yeah,
are
some of
very,
that stuff.
very impressive.
Oh,
You know,
thanks.
even if I don't understand how they're done, it's probably more impressive that way. But yeah, it's
Right.
it's like I feel the same way. I have a screen printing space, and I'll build some super weird custom screens for jobs that are more artful.
Right,
And
right.
most screen printing is commercial, so they have just no interest in doing something that's not replicatable easily. So it
Yeah.
sounds like you're trying to fill the art void of embroidery, which I don't know of anyone else doing anything quite like
There,
it. You probably do though.
yeah, not quite. I mean, there is more, I've noticed more of an interest. I mean, LUCCA MART, they do a lot of jobs for, I would say like skateboarding companies and like kind of like not full on artsy stuff, but there is a trend of like new placement in screen printing and embroidery where stuff is kind of like goes over the seams or on pants and like a lot of weird places. I've been noticing a lot of embroidery. So there's like a bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a line I think that most embroidery places won't cross of how, they're just trying to do a high quantity of pieces and not necessarily like some weirdo stuff. I'm trying to like ride the line, because I still do run a lot of just like logos on hats and stuff, but I'd like to supplement that with some never before seen type.
So is this so this is your life at the moment? A lot of embroidery.
Yeah, this has been my life, because I'll work all day. Yeah, for a while. I kind of got into this right when I started, right when I got here. I just needed something to occupy my time, I guess. And I was, I've always drawn a lot, but I kind of wanted to put my hands on something a little more like practical, I guess. I don't know. Making clothes is fun.
How do these animations fit in? So obviously, I mean, people wouldn't know this, I don't think, but that's what you went to school for, right? Animation.
That's right.
And you went hard. You really gave it your all, and you just burnt out. Is that accurate?
Kind of. I mean,
that's how I remember you telling the story. Kind of. You made that one short, and then it was just you realized it was one, a lot of dweebs, but two, just like a lot of work. You can correct me if I'm wrong in any of those assessments.
No, that sounds about right. It's not like I mind that it's a lot of work. I just think if I burned out on anything, when I was in New York, I was also doing a lot of that. I was working on I was doing a lot of like motion graphic stuff, like commercials and stuff, which that I definitely burned out on. It's super boring. But yeah, I don't know. I love it. Animation. I just don't know. It's like people are so good at it, and it is so time consuming. It's like, I don't know if I really wanted to make a living that way. I don't know if I have the chops, but I still love it. And
but you have a very interesting, you have a very distinct style with those little fruit babies, I feel like you could find work there. And I like the clay scanned 3D stuff, if that's what's going on there.
Yeah, I like that. That was like a little more interesting to me, I think, because it was a little more unique. I don't know. Animation is just, it's so fun that I think a lot of people get into it, and it makes it a little daunting to try and like stand out in a field where I think maybe that's why I'm sort of drawn to these like technical things. It's like there's like a more of a barrier to entry, not that there isn't for some of the technical aspects of animation too, but it's sort of like if you can just like, a lot of people don't want to deal with some of the aspects of like learning and servicing just like a piece of machinery.
Yeah.
It's like, it's sort of like has a old world like aspect to it or something, where if you're like really just like, all right, I'm gonna get, it's like a trade, I can get good at this and make it artful,
and you like that.
I like that. It makes me feel like I can stand out a bit more, have something to offer more than, I mean, there's a million people make cutesy fruit animations, something. I don't know. I just feel like I'm not really like offering anything to the world with that, as much as I do enjoy making that kind of stuff. But
well, it sounds like you're looking for something more like grounding and useful in some ways, which I think is pretty normal at the age you're at.
Exactly. It's like an age thing perhaps, but yeah, I don't know. I still just am drawing all the time, like in sketchbooks and stuff. but it's just not as, you have to make money, you know, in this world.
You
Something
do.
I've noticed.
Yeah, I think a lot of people notice that.
It's, yeah, it's fun. You know, it's great. But
I mean, if you're making money doing these things that I'm looking at, that's pretty rad.
yeah, no, I think I've struck a sort of a balance. I always wanted to be like, just make like amazing comics and just be like, you know, some weirdo like in a basement, like just making my like fever dreams,
Yeah.
just getting them all down, you know. But that's a difficult
It's a
road.
horrible life, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. Even
Oh,
a
no, definitely.
brief glimpse of it we maybe both have had is just like, man.
Yeah. I think we
It's
probably,
very interesting how in your 20s you think art can fill like every void, you know, and then you just slowly learn like, oh no, there's like, it's much more complicated to actually embrace the complexity of life and try to arrive at a balance while still keeping some integrity.
yeah. Like, unless you're a true freak, like you sort of have to eventually, otherwise you'll just like die. I don't know. It's really hard to make it to like being an old gray person, having gone down that road, you know, the whole time. I think as like I don't know. I think you probably want to kill yourself a lot.
Yeah.
If you stick with that mindset. At a certain point, you have to be like, all right, I'm gonna like, you know, interact with my community a little and reach out to people and stop staying in this weird, because it's like you sort of have to stay in it if you really want to. I mean, and that's where the good stuff comes from. A lot of the really good stuff does come from that, but you don't really want to be that person. Everyone's different, but
I think some people just accept the trade. They accept the sacrifice, and they say, "All right, well, I'm more into this than being healthy or balanced." And there's something heroic and admirable about that for sure. But it's interesting.
And I love that.
Yeah, no, it's certainly praiseworthy, no doubt.
I don't know if I was strong enough.
But you still got time.
Yeah. You know, I went to this old man's studio in Manhattan, and he was one of these old weirdos, like, you know, just like a true weirdo.
What's his name?
I don't know his name. He was working on this film called The Sex Lives of Robots. I remember it was a long time ago, many years ago. But he was like, you know, a true freak, and he had all these he would like thrift all these Barbies. He was a stop motion animator, and he would like whatever alter these Barbies into these sex robots, and his apartment was just like was covered with them in like these sets, and the bathroom was in the bathtub, and everything was just full of these models and like all the stop motion gear, and he was like so dirty, and it was like, at the time I was probably like 22 years old or something. And it was like, it was just so amazing. It was just like that at the time, that was just who I wanted to be. Like, he just never left his space, and he never stopped. He had been like working on this film for like 20 years or whatever. And I think maybe it did eventually release, but it was like, you know, up in the air if it ever would, or if this was just one of those freaky things. Anyways, I think that was sort of like the model of like at the time what I thought would be a good thing to be. Just like a real dedicated weirdo.
Yeah, I think his name is Michael Sullivan. I'm looking at his work right now.
Yeah, Michael. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't fake that though.
No, it was so authentic and dirty. I was just like, it was like a real transformative moment for me.
That's the hard thing about envy well, envy is bad in general, I think, but even admiration can lead to you wanting to be something that you aren't, especially when you're in your 20s as an artist. You just see things and you're impressed and you think, oh, I should make that. And
yeah, definitely.
I think that's like a sense of not having boundaries, you know, not understanding what you are and what you aren't.
Sure, yeah, and it's like you don't see the path, like you see the end result maybe, but like the the
You don't
path
see
is
the
so
pain. You
is so
don't see the
fraught.
sacrifice.
Yeah,
It's like in my weaker moments, I wish I was Miyazaki or something, and then I step back and look at the whole picture, and I go, nah, I think I'm good. You know?
yeah. There's like so much. I mean, becoming anything in any field is hard, but there's just there's a long road. Life is it's long.
Oh, it is. It's short and long at the same time. I accept the
Yeah,
fact that it's both of these things. But in
yeah.
respect to the long, like, what are you trying to? Can you see where you're trying to take these things? You know where the path you're on right now.
I don't know how far along of a vision this is, but there are some. I sort of like at least these things I've been working on recently. These like bio things that are. I'm trying to build them as like uniforms, like they're pieces that work best all together as like a full set of armor. Kind of that's the idea. It's like a full set of armor. I would really like to kind of create and sell them with that in mind. I would really like for like like a musician or something to wear it on stage as like a uniform. It's like a nudie suit, like a country thing. Like I think that's just how they look the best. It's like when it's like a full set of armor. It's just I've done a bunch of different pieces, so they do kind of fit together that way. But I don't know. That's sort of as far as I look forward usually. Just like whatever I'm working on at the moment. I have a hard time. You create a plan for yourself, and things just instantly start veering in a different direction. Well, that's what I found.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's no one said when you make a plan that it's going to happen, but I still think the plan is useful in the sense of a direction, and you're kind of just always tacking back towards it, if that's your longer term goal. But it's interesting. It sounds like the embroidery is at least the most. It's the thing that you're most thinking about in respect to making.
Oh yeah, that's how I'm spending most of my time right now. There's other projects I sort of have on the back burner. I did a whole comic. I made this whole comic over the last few years, but that's one of those things. It may never see the light of day, but I definitely spent a long time on it.
How long is it?
I mean, it's sort of like a long outline with just like 3 chapters that are actually fleshed out. But it's sort of just
so you were kind of scripting it out.
Yeah, that's sort of the part that I like. Just like the I don't know, world building kind of thing.
Yeah,
planning. It's hard, things. Anyways, comics and stuff. That's just for fun. That's sort of how I see it, at least.
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't find making comics very fun.
I mean, yeah, it's for fun, but it's not fun.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
I guess.
There is this thread, this boyish refinement.
Thread.
It's
like
to the work.
Embroidery joke.
Yeah. But as I think about it, you like to take something. I don't know, something that's like not taken too seriously, like airbrushing a T-shirt or embroidery, and kind of tune it up technically and see where it can go. Or even you were doing some strange video game experiments, and the clay people. There's this interesting mixture of innocence and guilt, or maybe not corruption, I would say. in the characters?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's sort of, well, I do the baby clothes and stuff. I sort of have like one foot in the cutesy stuff, and maybe that's just a result of not being a very technical drawer.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know. That's just what I like, really. I like
You like
cartoons.
you still doing the baby stuff?
Oh yeah, baby stuff's still going. It's sort of passive, but Lucky Bug, still
Lucky
going pretty
Bug.
strong. Yeah.
So tell people about that.
That's baby clothes. That's a family business. That's me and my sister and my mom. We make baby clothes. I do all the design work. That's another thing. That was it's sort of like, it's another thing where it's sort of like we just make baby clothes, but I sort of try to do something with the repeat patterns that's like a little bit over the top or something. Just a little more interesting than, I don't know. There's some connection there between like these like all over embroidery pieces I'm doing now and some of the repeat patterns I've done on the baby clothes.
There's an ambition there. I see the desire to push it a bit. These rompers aren't messing around.
I don't know if you're not some like amazing natural talent, you got to find some way to push it. You got to do something unique.
I think, yeah.
I would say
You got to have some strength, sure. You have to present the world with something, some reason to care.
You have to find an avenue. So I think maybe that's what I'm looking for in all of these, pursuits. It's just some way to sort of do something unique or take it to the next level. Just try a little harder in like one particular area to make it interesting. I don't know.
You answered that. It sounds like you kind of take it one day at a time and you focus on just slowly refining the process.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep building on what I do. Like, I think there's even more wild stuff to come, but yeah, I'm still learning. I've gotten pretty good at it, at the embroidery stuff at least, but there's still a lot to learn. So
do you run your own business in any sense?
Yeah, technically Opal Embroidery is my business. But I've really just fallen under the banner of LUCCA MART, it's called. That's where my studio is and all my equipment and stuff. So
how do you spell that?
LUCCA MART is LUCCA, and then Mart is spelled how you might expect it.
And that's where you work?
That's where I work.
And what's that all about? It's a cool looking website.
Yeah, so I just happened to meet these guys when I moved here. They're just local cool guys. Elmo and Grant are the owners. They're very, they're just very plugged in with all the LA haps. They're both from like the Inland Empire, and they just know all. I mean, they got some Bay connections too. We had friends in common like Andrew and some others, but they're great. They just work really hard, and it's mostly screen printing, but they were just trying to expand into embroidery right when I kind of showed up asking about it. So I've just been working like a dog here, doing personal projects for them, contract stuff. Because they're just always busy with screen printing, and pretty much everybody, there's a lot of, when someone is doing a lot of screen printing work, they usually have some embroidery they want to do also.
Yeah.
So it was a very good fit, and we're sort of expanding into you know, they're buying a lot more machinery for me and moving me into a bigger space. It's a lot, honestly. It's a lot for one person to run it all, but it's cool. That's that's sort of what I'm trying to be, is just be the one to call if you need some top notch embroidery.
That's cool.
This is where I'm sort of working. What's it? Earning my chops. Is that an expression? Earning.
I
This
think
is where I'm
you're
earning my chops. This is where the chops are earned.
I feel like the pork chops. I feel like you're mixing two of them. Earning your keep
No.
and honing your chops. Is that it?
Yeah. So this is where I'm earning my chops.
Could you have imagined when you were 15 this would be what's going on? Does it feel pretty right?
I have thought about that, and I wouldn't have imagined it quite like this, but it is like it's funny. It's like the kind of place where I would have loved to see myself, like, because it's like so cool, like so cool guy. Like we have a Marvel versus Capcom arcade cabinet.
Oh.
Like there's always people skating around. Like there was these dudes in here earlier skating, like ollieing over stuff. And we had a big party the other week. It was like,
wow.
It was so cool. Yeah. It is like a version of, like, my 15-year-old self would be like,
yeah.
Nice, dude. Like you like kept the dream alive. And my current self is happy with that too, but is more concerned with like, making money and stuff.
Yeah. What do you think? What does it mean to be cool to you?
It's still like just having something to, like, to me, it's just having something that you make that's like specific to you, and you're just like the one that does that. Whatever it is, just having some kind of like an output that fills your free time. To me, that goes a long way. Whatever it is, even if you just make like TikTok videos or whatever, it's just like, you're doing something. It doesn't have to be like a public thing like that where you're putting it out into the world, but that's cool to me. If you do anything and you have some sort of like idea about it, or you're just passionate about it, that's what's cool now.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Because maybe I didn't realize that earlier. I mean, it's sort of, I didn't realize that was what it was that made people cool. I probably still would have identified the same coolness in people, but I'm just not, I would have thought it was just, I didn't see, when you're young, you don't see how much constant effort it takes to be someone who creates stuff.
Oh yeah, it's cool when you enter your 30s, because all the people who were bullshit just fade away, in terms of, the kids who were just kind of running off steam from art school. Like and then it's just like, oh, are you willing to sacrifice a lot of things just to keep doing this absurd activity? And no is the answer for most people.
Or like, do you even have a choice? Like, I just, I think at a certain point I feel like I couldn't not do something. I would just fall into some, something, making something interesting, right. Interested in something. It's just, it's so boring to just, I don't know, sit around and watch movies like all the time, or whatever you do with your free time. I guess, like, have a life and a family and stuff. But that's all good stuff too. But
do you still play video games, or have you've kind of like, you're trying to make money?
I like video games. I don't have time to really play them, but I have a big interest in them. I think they're a.
So tell me
I think it's a
about
cool.
a video
Yeah.
game. What's going on?
Have you heard of Roblox?
Uh,
It's like
no.
for babies.
Oh, it's a baby game.
Yeah,
Hold
kind
on.
of. I mean, it's super interesting. It's sort of like mainly for babies, but it's
What
like
the hell? Just Lego guys?
kind of, yeah.
Just like
It's just like one of
horrible.
these. Yeah, it's just one of these weird, like unregulated, like digital worlds, like where a lot of the emphasis is on making stuff or making your own games or like just customizing your guy, and it's so open ended. It's like you just run across. It's one of my favorite games to just like you can just jump around into a bunch of little games. And it's very popular, so there's always people playing, and it's you just find these really wild combinations of like textures and uh, graphics and like just ideas. Like I was playing. I found this game on there that's like and this isn't even that weird of an example, honestly, but it was like a natural disaster simulator, and it's like a game where every couple minutes it sends you to a level, and then like a random natural disaster occurs, and you have to try and survive. It's like it's all really shitty, you know. It's like
Yeah, I'm looking
people
at it right
make
now.
the
Yeah.
people make the games. They're not, you know, professional. It's just like other people. I mean, people spend a lot of time making them, but they turn out very crusty and like funny. But you know, even within that, so then you're playing this weird like natural disaster simulator baby game, and it's like all the people you're playing with are like have all these weird overlaying like wraparound graphics that are all stretched out. Like each part of their body has like a different item, and it's like weird like flags and just like I can't even describe it. It's like all these textures on textures, weird different like body forms. It's
Yeah,
like
it's fucked
if
up.
you
I'm
just
looking at
take
it.
like it's super fucked. It's like it just creates these like little moments where you wouldn't like it'd be really hard. It's like some AI shit, like where it's just like all these weird, vibrant, clashing textures, like in a very weird context. And so I just like to go around and like take lots of screenshots and then you know even aside from just like thinking that this is all weird, it's like sometimes you'll have these funny little interactions with people where you're not. I don't do like voice chat or anything, but you'll just like play a game where it's just you and one other person in like some like you know it's called like military industrial complex simulator or something, and you like earning money to buy uh, combat helicopters, and you're just like you'll just have this fun little time with one other person where you're just jumping on each other's heads and you're communicating just through your movements, and you're playing this weird some weird game some weirdo made, and it's all free. um Anyways, that's sort of the Roblox experience. That's been one of the, you know,
So
I like it when
Roblox,
it's
yeah,
like
never checked it out. Sounds kind of cool. You like that sandbox world, I guess. That
sandbox. Yeah,
openness.
that's the word I'm looking for. It's kind of like, you know, I don't know, Second Life or something, which I always thought was super interesting, but is a little more involved. It's like a little scarier to get into Second Life, I think. There's some like dark. It's like that's one of the dark corners of the internet. But
Roblox?
Roblox, no, Second Life. Have you heard of
Oh,
Second
okay.
Life?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was
I
like the
thought,
original version of this kind of thing.
yeah, it's
This
super
has
weird.
been more like, yeah, this is a little more toned down. But
I'm not really into what would you call it? It's like a form of transhumanism in a sense. It's kind of a way to
yeah.
escape your actual problems and identity, etc.
Yeah, you fully like buy into whatever simulation you're involved in. Like you're like work at a maternity ward or something, and you're like, you know, the nurse.
In
You have
Second
to
Life.
like, yeah, or probably Roblox too. It's very weird. Like I don't know, I don't understand like the legality of any of it. Like, cause there's all these, and like even in Roblox, there's all these properties. Like, you know, you could play a game that's like, oh, it's like Sonic the Hedgehog, raise Sonic the Hedgehog like from a baby or something, and it's just like there's like 1,000 of them, and his images is posted. I mean, you know, maybe that's not even really that interesting, but it's just weird to me that it's like you can just do anything. There's no rules, and it's so popular. But
well, I think that's why it's popular.
But you just think, you know, there's a lot of crackdowns in this day and age. It's all like, you know, if you play a song or whatever on YouTube, it can just be detected, and you know, you go to jail.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened to me.
Really?
No.
Jail.
No. For playing I played a song on YouTube. Yeah, that would be an amazing story. No, I still haven't been to jail. It's fucking ridiculous.
What? You gotta go. You really gotta go. Change your life.
Yeah, no. So in respect to you've bounced from the East and the West Coast for your whole life, huh? It's like part of your identity. I
know.
Isn't that true? Even when you were young? Is that true?
It's so true. It is so true.
Why don't you just live in the middle?
I could try that.
Just exactly in the middle. I don't know what state that is, but
I don't either. I would, you know, I'd be interested in trying that. I don't like moving between places.
Seems like you do.
I know it would seem that way, right? But it's honestly kind of hard. It's always really hard to be in a new place.
So yeah, Lebanon, Kansas is in the exact middle of America. So, oh wait, no, I'm reading South Dakota. So I'm trying to find you a spot.
Options?
I'm trying to find you a place to settle. Well, it sounds like you're
really
still. Yeah.
I'm not interested in Kansas.
No.
I would love to settle somewhere. I don't, you know, LA has kind of grown on me. It's a very difficult place, but I don't really see myself like settling here. I'm not.
Where do you live
like,
in LA?
I live in a small village.
Oh yeah.
It's called Rampart Village. It's it's just like a neighborhood. They have lots of those here.
Oh yeah, they have villages.
It's just by like, you know, Echo Park, where anybody else might live.
Yeah, that all makes sense. No, LA can be chill. Good food. It's got good food.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
What? Really? You know, I think, do you still like? Really do you ever think about? I almost never think about Oakland.
Oh, I think about Oakland all the time.
Yeah, I'll have weird like.
What is such a strange place? You know, I don't know. There's so many strange experiences there.
Yeah, I'll think about the flop house, but I won't.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't wax poetic about those days. It's just interesting from your perspective. Like, I went to Cali. I'll probably never. I mean, I'm pretty damn certain I'll never live there again. But it's interesting to me that you bounce back and forth between the two. I'm curious what insight you could give anyone about that experience.
Yeah. Well, I think each time I do, I'm sort of thinking I will never, you know, I won't do it again. And then I do it again. For me, the weather is, you know, that's a pretty big factor for me. I wish it wasn't. It seems like so soft to let like the weather dictate where you're gonna like spend your life. But
well, yeah, I mean, but if you ain't got nothing else going on, it's a pretty good metric, you know.
Well, like, how are you feeling right now? Are you cold? You a little chilly?
Me?
Yeah.
It's actually pretty
circulation.
Pretty solid. It's a pretty mild winter. I used to leave New Jersey in the winter, and now I have a lot of real things to do and responsibilities. So I've just kind of accepted it, and except that my psoriasis gets weird and my bones hurt, and I'm just an old dude. But
Yeah.
I think
Sure.
there's some utility to just toughing it out. You know, I used to kind of just bounce when it was getting uncomfortable, but I can totally get why old people move to Florida from New Jersey. But
Yeah.
you know what I always found so weird about California is for the 4 or 5 years I lived there, it felt like 2 because there was no demarcation of time with the seasons.
Yeah. And
And
that's a very strange thing.
I'm so used to that being from here, and it horrifies me. I hate the idea.
It does put you into some sort of a weird like trance. Like your
A
life
lull,
becomes
yeah.
like a walking like dream sort of.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is weird. That's a real thing. You know, it probably has a name. Or should.
Everything has a name.
So yeah, I would agree with you on that. It's not great. I think maybe I just have like a complex about it.
Oh yeah.
About the weather thing, because I moved to New York the first time when I was in high school, and I was, you know, I had a lot of reason to find issue with, you know, my new environment. So from right off the bat, the cold weather was like was an enemy to me, because that's not what I was used to.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there might be something to that. Maybe I could just tough it out if I didn't have adolescent trauma involved.
Wow. Yeah, we ain't got to go there.
No, let's do it. Come on. No, that's
Trauma?
really all I have to say.
Yeah.
I don't know about trauma's a strong word, but
yeah.
You know, it wasn't fun to be thrown into like cold, wet winters after growing up in.
With that soft skin.
Yeah. I was physically, forget the mental aspect. I was just physically soft, and you know, I guess that could toughen you up a bit, but whatever. It's really not an issue. It's just something to point to when you are looking for a reason for why you moved to LA.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good reason.
When you're just, you know, it sounds like the center of your life is still the art, so it makes sense that you would kind of move from New York to Cali and back and forth. You know, it's still the spots. I know you were in Kingston, right?
Yeah.
For no good reason.
Yeah, that's basically New Paltz.
Oh, okay.
That's next door. I mean,
So you got that side of you too. You got the kind of bug boy side.
yeah, that's true. You know, there's a whole aspect of just like, you know, I love bugs and frogs and like, you know, that kind of stuff, which there's not as much of here. That always was like, you know, very agreeable when there's just like all these great birds and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's already things I miss about the East Coast, but
No,
I'm not sure.
Not worth missing.
Can you tell me where to live? Where should I live?
You know what I've realized? It's really sentimental in some ways, but it's like one of the least important. There's so many other things to be considered before that is the actual thing, where you live. And usually, you know, but, you know, I understand in modernity, like people have so little to like stand on in respect to foundation that, especially our generation, is pretty listless and just kind of bounces around, usually in some kind of career mode. You know, even if you don't think of us as like careerist, there is a sense of, well, it's where the work is, or it's where like the other people doing the same kind of work are. So I don't think I can answer that question for you, because we have very different lives. And, you know, I came back to where I am because of the people and my family and friends. And ultimately, I do think that's the thing that matters the most, much more
Yeah.
than weather or places. But it's tough, especially when your work can be kind of remote or it's isolating. The external root system can often not be present. So I can't tell you where to live because I don't know what you're really trying to do. It sounds like you're where you're supposed to be in respect to doing embroidery, though. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I found a little space for myself here.
But if you ain't trying to have kids and whatnot and make a family, like, these questions become less pressing, I think. It's more...
Yeah, they're not that pressing.
Yeah. It's more about one's own self-interest and exploration at that point. Like, even I've become kind of bored of travel. I didn't get on a plane until I was like 20 or something, but then in my 20s I traveled a bit. But now it just feels like this kind of skimming across the surface of a pond where you never really enter into the thing you're visiting anyway.
Yeah.
And I just want to get back to like doing the real work I have to do. Not in a bad way, like in a beautiful way. I'm just excited to like build vertically, And I think when we were living together, that was more about exploration and just understanding the boundaries of things, horizontally speaking.
Yeah, true enough. I hear you about building vertically.
That's exciting.
That is exciting, but I think that's what's sort of tough when you feel like there's a chance you might not stay where you are. It's like
sure.
You have to
it's tough.
You have to restart a lot of that over and again.
You do,
but
yeah.
It kind of comes with the territory.
Absolutely. That's where it just comes down to the value set, And for me, as AI increases in power, I'm just more and more concerned with building real things in respect to physical things or social things, and build it as vertically high as possible, because I think AI is a pretty shallow, at least from an imagery perspective, it's kind of a shallow creature. So yeah, I think more and more.
You just mean like physical?
Oh, I mean
objects?
Like, yeah, I do. I have had a fabrication company with my partner for 4 years. So
how does the screen printing like fit into that? Is that separate?
Oh, I mean, I do all sorts of weird things. No, they can come into play. Sometimes I'll screen print wood and then we'll kerf cut it. Kerf cut, you know what kerf cutting is?
I can use context clues to.
No, guess. I don't think you can.
I didn't say I'd be right, but
it's like a way to cut plywood so you can bend it around a curve. So we made these weird stools where I screen printed like this huge surface first, and then we CNC cut it, and then we made it into a stool. So screen printing can definitely come into play there. I also just do like weird apparel and signage with it. The screen printing is kind of a side aspect, but I find, like you were saying earlier, some real satisfaction in working with real stuff. And
yeah, like a CNC cutter, you have that in your shop. That's a lot like an embroidery machine. That's, it's similar, at least like the preparatory stages of a project. Yeah, very similar.
Well, I imagine, in the sense of, again, when I first got it, I thought, oh, this thing's just going to like do everything. And we can just sit back while it produces objects, which obviously is not true. But I imagine with embroidery, there's that kind of same issue where you have to marry at least with the CNC, it's like the bit to the actual vector, and then how those things are going to, match each other in real life. What is the embroidery process like?
I mean, I think, the preliminary stages are similar, where it's all, basically all the stitches and the design and the order of everything, including a bunch of like secondary factors like stitch length and the like the compensation for different fabrics and stuff. That's all.
Right.
That's all like pre-programmed into like a really small file. You know, which is then basically sent to the machine. But you spend all the time on the computer, like really getting those things down exactly right for the specific project. You know, mostly having to do with the material you're embroidering on, and you know, certain things need a certain order, you know, to be stitched in a certain order so that it holds the fabric in the right spots. And there's like this whole underlay thing. Basically, it's all, you know, it's like this whole complicated file it has a lot to do with the order everything is done and like the spacing of everything. And then once that's all been designated, you do sort of just send it to the machine to run, but you still, for the most part, are sort of babysitting it and just watching and making sure nothing gets caught. You know, that's the stuff that anyone can do, I guess, is the you know, like being like an embroidery machine operator is not a very like highly technical job really. But that's sort of just like the last step of embroidery, or you know, anything. It's all the prep stuff, and like it's called digitizing when you receive a file and turn it into like an embroidery file. It's like a whole wild thing. I mean, you know, it's like a whole industry is just the digitizing. I don't know if you've ever received through your work or anything, any calls, anyone looking to advertise their digitizing services, you know, maybe through usually screen printing shops will get a lot of those kind of calls, but maybe, anyways, it's like a whole thing where that's all people do. They don't even embroider. They'll just do digitizing.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting too, you know, it uses all this really interesting, like proprietary software that's expensive and weird and looks like some software from like the 80s or something, you know. It's all very like,
it's always like that,
stripped down and like kind of cool and weird and like functional. So that's a huge part of embroidery. That's sort of like the real barrier to entry, honestly, is getting good at the digitizing stuff.
Yeah.
And I find some pleasure in mastering and figuring out weird software. So that's a side to embroidery that I didn't really know about. But
what do you do your animations in? The 3D ones?
All Blender. Almost entirely. Yeah, Blender's cool. That's another one that was weird to learn. It does well, I guess I haven't used that many 3D software, so I don't know, but everything is done in such a specific way, all the shortcuts and everything. It's like, it's fun to learn because it's so different and kind of frustrating at first. And I'm, you know, not that good at it, but it seems like you can do just about anything in Blender. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's very useful. Isn't it open source?
It's open source. It's free.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's always expanding, evolving. Like there's always adding new stuff, and there's all these wild plugins. It's a bit much, honestly. You can do so much wild stuff. It's like that's why, like, I feel like the barrier for entry for animation and stuff is it's just constantly lowering, and it's so easy to make cool stuff. Not that there's, you know, that many people go through with it, but
yeah.
There really is. There's very few steps between like those. I really liked the way those 3D clay animations I was doing looked, and
yeah, they're cool.
You know, obviously claymation and stop motion animation is like super time intensive and involved, and it's one of those things that, like, you know, crazy people do. But those were there was like so few. That wasn't, I mean, obviously it wasn't stop motion. There's like so few steps now, like to get something that looks, has at least some of that, the appeal of that look, like that clay texture coming through. I would just make those models in clay and 3D scan them and put them right in Blender. It's like,
and then you have to build like an armature out for them.
Yeah, and then you just build an armature, but it's easy. It's all very easy, relatively, compared to making. The problem is I don't. I would like to keep doing those. I don't have a good enough computer at the moment, but yeah, that's something I would like to continue working on. I always thought those are cool.
Yeah, there's something special about them. They have a nice quality of filth, yet I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, they just really maintain whatever texture you create them with. They don't have to be clay even. I mean, you could add an armature to anything. It doesn't have to be
it's true.
Like a limbed thing. So, maybe I'll make a whole animation film or even a video game.
I think that'd be cool. Yeah. Absolutely. You should release that comic book too.
Yeah, it's...
I'll check it out. Send it to me.
Okay. Comics are hard, because you do...
Oh, they're fucking really difficult. They're really hard.
It's with animation, at least, like there'll be a drawing or two in a sequence that you're maybe not thrilled about on their own, but they go by very quickly. It's still hard to accept that, maybe some of those frames don't work as drawings on their own, which I think a good animator would be fine with, and just know that. And maybe they need to be a little fugly, like on their own. But that was always hard for me to get over. I would want every, but with the comic, it's like you still have to do all this drawing.
And it's just there. Yeah,
they all have to be good. Yeah, there's no hiding. It's like they all have to, every little... I mean, I think a lot of good comics, will maybe have some little messy bits, but for me, at least, it's like, it's always just sticking out like a sore thumb if you're unhappy with the way
for sure
something looks. It's just like, it's always, I don't know. It's just always there, just bugging you.
So if people wanted to hire you for something, what would they hire you for at the moment? If they wanted to support what you do? Can they ask you to embroider something? Or is that like something you do through LUCCA?
I do it through LUCCA, and I take, I've done quite a few of my own jobs on the side.
Okay.
So yeah, they could reach out to me via Instagram mostly.
And animation? You have any animation services?
I would like to. I when I first moved here, I reached out to a bunch of people, kind of seeing if there was any hope of that. I can't really see myself taking an animation job, but I definitely would try if someone was interested. I would make it work, but I don't know. You really want to hire one person to make an animation? It's like, you're a fool. Make your own animation. It's not, you'll have to, it's such a process. But yeah, sure. I'll do anything. I'll do anything for money.
Wow.
Yeah. You can quote me out on that.
Yeah, I will. So I like to end it on a joke sometimes.
Okay. What's funny?
You got a joke?
Before... Oh, I'm supposed to have a joke.
Yeah.
Let me say this.
Sure.
It's funny because you have a really great sense of humor. I was thinking about this.
I do.
But you're you don't like, you're not like, I mean, you did just chuckle a little there, but I feel like I almost never hear you like actually laugh. You sort of just have like an inward like laugh. It's sort of like, it gives you power,
Yeah, I know what you mean. But it also
gives
gives people the satisfaction of making me laugh.
Right.
which is beautiful.
That is beautiful.
I like people who, I have a niece who's just, man, you got to work hard and then to get a smile out of her. But when you do, it's so wonderful.
Right. She doesn't play that like Bush League.
Oh, it's crazy. I don't know if I met anyone as stoic as her. It's amazing.
That's so good. You know, you could just rule over your constituents with like a power like that, you know? Just make everyone, it's true. It's like what makes everyone like vie for your approval so hard. Anyways,
no, but you know, I do laugh. You don't know who I am. You don't know me.
I don't, but
you don't know me.
I have some idea.
You wouldn't believe.
I think you have how much you laugh. How jovial you are these days.
Nah, I'm not jovial though. I'm definitely not like a ray of sunshine. But do you have a joke? I feel like you're a jokester.
I don't, you know, I'm a jokester.
A jester. You're a jester.
I don't like telling jokes, you know, like
all right, tell me something funny. You see anything funny recently in LA? Like, you know?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, you know graffiti?
Yeah.
So there's sometimes people continue doing graffiti when they're adults.
That's already funny.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always here. I'm at the studio where I work right now. I'm always here late, and it's in the arts district. It's sort of like a bunch of warehouses and stuff. And I see a lot of funny stuff here when I stay really late, and I'll leave in the middle of the night. And there's a lot of funny there's always like illegal raves that are always happening all the time around here, and that sort of spills out into the street. And anyways, one of the funny things I saw the other day when I was leaving was there's like this middle-aged man doing some like a big graffiti on the wall across from my studio, and it said FYB, and it was really bad, like so bad. And it was on the side, he was just like really normal dress, like probably 45-year-old man, doing the worst like graffiti piece ever. And it said, "Fuck your bitch crew." That was what he was putting up on the wall. It was pretty funny.
It's amazing. It's so horrible.
Fuck your bitch crew. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I was saying I thought it was gonna say "fuck your butt crew," so I was pretty close there.
That's pretty funny too.
No,
actually,
I mean
that's good. I mean,
it's kind of better, right? But it's not. I mean,
it's
better. Yeah, graffiti's fucking goofy.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense when there's like a crew of like younger kids maybe doing something.
Oh
like
yeah,
this was
like
just a little
15
shocking.
years old. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, almost like a real adult man.
Well, I'm glad you found embroidery. I'm glad you have a cool job too. It looks like a really cool place to work.
Yeah, it is cool. We make a lot of cool stuff. Even the screen printing stuff, which I'm pretty heavily involved in, is often like interesting or for someone interesting. You know, we just work. It's cool to provide services to artists and
it's the age. And stuff. 'Tis the age for it. Yeah. I feel like the 30s are for service. You know.
Yes. Well, I live to serve.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. It's a great thing.
Well, I can't say whether it's great or not, but it's what I live.
I mean, it's the right thing. That's what it is. All right. Well, people should hire you for a multitude of services. Maybe someone could buy you a computer. Maybe a listener could buy you a computer to start animating on. We have very wealthy and generous listeners.
That's the audience? Okay.
Yeah. And, well, it was good talking to you. Glad we caught up. One day we'll cross paths, I think. We won't know it, but we will.
Yeah, that's right.
Music by Dory Bavarsky and Mingja Chen. Next up, we have Sam Bosma.